our business moves, I kind of want to move into Turki Alalshikh, who wants to set up that Crawford fight next. And there's been some rumblings out there. A lot of guys like him. They're getting paid probably more handsomely than they were paid in the past. But then you have some guys who haven't really been missing any change. You know what I'm saying? Canelo Alvarez, my personal opinion, the face of boxing, right? Because Canelo, no matter who you put him in there with, is going to do numbers. I think Bivol did 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and they considered that a down fight for Canelo in terms of in terms of pay-per-view sales. You got guys like Gervonta, if you pair him up with the right people, Ryan Garcia, skyrocket, million plus, right? But then if they fight other people, not as impressive, because his last fight against Frank Martin, allegedly, we can't verify these numbers. No one's putting out the official numbers, but allegedly it took a dip and it was back in like the 200s of thousands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think 300 it was reported, but we don't know if that's even accurate.
Yeah, then Crawford and Spence allegedly did 750 together, but now you put Crawford in there with Madrimov, and people are saying it did about 100K, right? So these guys, if you put them in the right matchup, yes, we can see them do numbers, but can they do numbers with anybody? Bivol wasn't a household name. Canelo still did 500,000 buys with him. And like I'm going to say allegedly, because these are just the numbers that we're hearing. I can't go somewhere and verify or validate these numbers, you know what I'm saying? But I say that to say, Canelo's been getting this paper, you know what I mean? You listen to him doing interviews, dude say he takes 80% of everything. Sway asked him like, 80% of everything? So what's that, like tickets, pay-per-view? It's like everything. You buy a soda, 80%, bro. So Canelo's getting chicken, you know what I'm saying? So he's not really running to Turkey to say, I need to get paid because I haven't been getting paid. And he's kind of like the first person we see kind of putting up some resistance against Turkey. Like, nah, listen, I'm not bowing down and kissing the ring. Like, I'm Canelo. We still going to do things my way.
I would probably argue he might be the second. Well, I'll say more pushback because, Gervonta gave some pushback initially.
Yeah.
Where he kind of was like, send me a Ferrari my way, and he basically said, I don't, the reason why these fighters are going out there in Saudi Arabia fighting is because they need the money. I don't need the money, but it seems like, it's a bit more spicy with Canelo and Alalshikh. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially with oh my God. Remember that video I sent you with him imitating Alalshikh with holding hands? Oh my God. He's
the more English Canelo learns, the funnier he becomes.
Yes, he's hilarious, bro. Yo, Canelo is hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think that was probably the best thing that he's done was to learn the English language because it allows him to show more of his personality. At least for us viewers, right? Us as fans. But I'm curious to know from your standpoint, right? Alalshikh came into the boxing scene. He's looking to make the best fights, according to him, right? There's some discrepancy, or some people have thoughts of, whether or not he's doing it to make an earning himself, or his priority is just to make the best fights, regardless of how much cash he has to throw out there. Do you think Alalshikh is good for boxing? But before you answer that question, first I want to kind of focus on, I guess, the conflict between him and Canelo. Who do you think is in the wrong or right? Like, who's more right in this situation between Alalshikh and Canelo? Does Canelo have the right to choose who he wants to fight whenever he wants, or is Alalshikh right in the sense of, boxing should kind of be that arena where the best are fighting the best? You know what I mean? And people shouldn't be avoiding other people, and working with people that can make those fights happen. Which is him.
I would, based on the statements that you just mentioned, I would say I kind of side with Turkey, right? In this aspect, I do want to see the best fight the best, right? I do want to see the best fight the best. Who can get those fights to take place? I'm all for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see Canelo Berlanga. I'm gonna watch it because we're gonna talk about it. It's what we do. You know what I mean? But I don't want to see that. I want to see him fight David Benavidez. We all know that. That's what I want to see. But at the same time, I have to say, even though I think Turkey's right about the best should be fighting the best, I agree when Canelo is like, yo, talk to me with some respect. There's no other boxers right now making Forbes lists. You know what I'm saying? Canelo brings in the revenue. So it's like, yo, if you want to make a business of this, you're going to have to show Canelo some respect. If you're looking to get a return on your investment, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. To him, it might be, yo, this is just surely my entertainment. I don't care how much money I blow on this. You know what I mean? So it just depends on what Turkey's standpoint is. If he doesn't care how much money he blows, Yeah, best needs to fight the best. But if you're really trying to figure out return on your investment, unfortunately, I think you're gonna have to show Canelo some respect. And I know to him it's probably your big bank take little bank, but like I said, if you're looking to get a return on your investment and turn this into a business venture, you're gonna have to show Canelo some respect.
Yeah, right. And I understand like fighters still have they have free autonomy to do what they want, you know, especially in the sport of boxing. It's
Yeah,
not like people everybody got to run to him. Now,
good,
the
good
follow
or
up
bad.
question is Turki Alalshikh good for boxing, or are there some concerns there
Yeah,
with him entering boxing?
there's definitely some concerns. I do think he's good for boxing, right? All I can do right now is go off of your track record thus far, right?
Okay.
And thus far, what he's been doing is putting on the big fights, right? We got undisputed at heavyweight, Usyk, Fury, right? It was an injury, but we got Bivol, Beterbiev coming up. These are the fights we've been wanting to see, right? He just put on a great card, right? Some people are saying the best card ever. Don't really know, but it was a really good card. Great names, you know what I'm saying? However, that Canelo card coming up, bro, I think that's
Is
presented
up
by
there.
PBC.
Is up
Yo,
there. Is up there. Caleb
yo,
Plant is on that undercard. It's
Danny Garcia versus Arizlandi Lara.
yeah.
Stephen Fulton's fighting on that card, bro.
Yep. That's a good
That,
card. I was
that,
surprised. It seemed
that
like there's some level of competition there. They're like, yo, we got to up our game, you know.
yeah,
But that goes to show that Turkey is actually shifting
yeah.
the landscape of boxing. Like now, PBC's forced to
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep up or be competitive. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
I don't want to front on PBC, yo, because yo, they really been putting on, like even before Turkey really got, like PBC's kind of been putting on. It hasn't
yeah,
been this stacked, but they've been giving us the big fights. They've been putting together some decent card. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to front on PBC, but you're right though. People are gonna feel like, yo, we have to keep up. Like we have to keep up. What can we do to keep up? So in that aspect, I definitely think he's good for boxing. I'll tell you my one concern is I just, as right, he's going to be the corporation, right?
right,
So I don't, he's not a promoter. He is the company, right? Putting on
right.
these fights, 3 odd seasons and stuff like that. The emotion is going to have to stay out of it, right? I don't know what the beef is with Tim Tszyu, but people want to see Tim Tszyu fight. So for you to say, yo, I'll never work with Tim Tszyu, I don't know what the beef is
Mm,
there. I can't speak to that, but the emotions are gonna be have to be taken out of it, right? If Tim Tszyu goes and let's say he gets that IBF strap, and let's say Terrence Crawford is chasing undisputed at 154. We all know Terrence is your guy, as clear as day. And if they have to unify, like you're gonna have to work with Tim Tszyu, aren't you? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So I just want to see the emotions taken out of it. You know what I'm saying? Just let's keep it business. I'm not saying God let somebody disrespect you. You know what I mean? But I don't know if that's what Tim Tszyu did. According to Canelo, like, yo, if you don't, bow down to this guy, then he's not messing with you. You know what I'm saying? So, but if Tim Tszyu is just like, yo, I don't feel like I need to do that, then I can't knock Tim Tszyu for, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. I mean,
but
I get it. You know,
yeah, what's
Tim
your
Tszyu got
standpoint on is he if he's good or bad for the sport?
I think he's good for boxing, to be honest. Like you, based off his track record, based off his actions, based off the results, it's been positive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, he's having little spats with certain fighters here and there. That of course can be avoided, but that is probably really minuscule in the grand scheme of things and based off of the big fights happening. And riot season, right? These cards that he's putting on, there are upsets occurring in these cards, right? So it's not like these matches are being set up. You know, the culture of boxing is, you know, you're building a guy up, so you're putting him in these fights where he's supposed to win. Up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
90% of the time. You may have those instances where they step up to a certain level and they may fight another fighter for the sake of money that's probably on this level or slightly better. But, you know, Al-Sheikh is basically like, we don't care about that. What I care about is making great fights. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it shows based off his actions. So I think in the grand scheme of things, that will push the sport further.
Yeah.
Now, like you said, you bring up a good point. We don't, what happens, let's say 10 years from now, where he's more of a corporation and he starts to monopolize many of the other promotional companies. And now he starts to blackball some of the other fighters because they're not bending the knee. All
Mm-hmm.
right. That could probably be a concern because I don't like that form of like discrimination. Like we've talked about this, what the WBC tried to do with Russian fighters,
Mm-hmm.
even with Bivol, preventing, you know, unifications from happening.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like when that type of things starts to occur, right? I hope it don't get to that point. And like you said, hopefully Al-Sheikh can kind of, you know, I know he has principles. I know he works in a different culture, but if he can kind of, I think the issue is because he's more in the spotlight and because he's having these interviews and he's becoming more humanized as opposed to like Al Heyman, then it's going to be more of an opportunity to kind of for people to kind of lash out on him or talk shit about him. Even though people talk shit about Al Heyman, right, all the
Yeah.
time, but you don't really see Al Heyman talk. So you don't even really know what's happening
You
in the
don't even
back.
see Al Heyman. Period.
Exactly. You don't even see. So, you know, I think Al-Sheikh could probably take a page out that book, or maybe he shows up, but maybe just, you know, don't even engage,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or
yeah.
lower himself to that standard, especially if he's the one bringing in all this money, right? So,
Yeah. You know, to kind of go back to the whole emotional thing, right? I just, like I said, just keep that out of it, and I think would be good, you know. And just another example I think of that is how, you know, it was Crawford, Canelo Crawford. After Crawford Madrimov, it seemed like he's kind of starting to backpedal, and he's not as interested in that fight. You know what I'm saying? But if Terrence is still interested, don't you have to be interested in the fight? Or you know, or is it like, yo, this is my guy? Now I have some doubts about him winning that fight, so now I don't necessarily want to push as hard to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of how it came off to me a little bit, and I could be wrong, right? Because I'm just from the outside looking in. But you know, that's not what we want. If Crawford says he wants to fight Canelo, even though, you know, initially I said I didn't want that fight, that's still how I feel. But I'm saying if Terrence is like, yo, that's the fight for me, that's the fight I want. Like I don't feel like you can say, nah, I don't really like that fight, so I'm not gonna make it. If he's saying, yo, that's the fight, don't you kind of have to make that fight?
that's a good point. I think Turkey, I think it's actually the opposite, like you just mentioned. I think he's, and this is the tough part, right? This can be another concern where he wants the fights that he wants to make is primarily backed or being motivated by his intrinsic or his personal feelings about those fights. If he doesn't really feel like it's going to be a big fight, he may not push for it or he may not necessarily invest in that. That can also be a concern as opposed to kind of viewing it from the masses, what the masses want.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at on the scale, but I'm assuming it's based off of probably more about what he wants. Because after the fight with Madrimov, he kind of was like, he was reluctant to kind of pursue the fight with Canelo based off of Terrence Crawford's performance. So I think it's a matter of, you know, he may not even care what Crawford wants,
Yeah.
you know. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of want to see, because right now, right, he's really partnering with the zone. We seen Bob Arum there. We haven't, I mean, PBC fighters are fighting, so I don't know what the relationship is that he has with this guy. But obviously everybody's getting paid. So I do want to see him keep continuing to help us put on the big fights, you know. So, you know, if I have to go overall, I do think he's good for the sport of boxing. Definitely like to hear what the supporters think. You know, do you guys think Turkey's good for boxing? Do you have any fears with this maybe new style of boxing, or him creating one boxing entity similar to the UFC? Make sure you guys jump in the comment section. Tell us how you feel about those things. Make sure you like and subscribe. Got some more videos coming soon. 2 cents short of $1. We out.